morning because I am preparing to do a 4-hour show in South Carolina today on 989 WORD. So please check the information. I think you guys know where that is, right? 989 WORD. Go to that website. How you like my new background that I just fixed? I'm just redoing it, so just bear with me. Wanted to go live quickly. Remind you, first of all, that I'm going to be doing 4 hours today, noon to 4 Pacific, 3 to 7 Eastern on the station. All the stuff that I thought wasn't in the shot is now in the shot. It's an experimentation. An experiment, whatever. Okay, put up with me. Just wanted to jump on here. There's a story in the RJ today that I think is affecting people in Las Vegas and obviously affects every community in the country, and that is about the homeless. Here's the story here. Courting controversy, okay? And it's all about the court that was strictly for the homeless on the strip. Okay, now I'm not going to get in the weeds on that because there are people saying that's a good idea, people saying that's a bad idea. I'm not even going there. Here's what I want to say about this. The point I want to make is that the homeless people do not deserve more rights than the rest of us. Can we all agree on that? I think we should. Homeless people are human beings. They are worthy of care and compassion. Everybody, why is this Kleenex box in the shot? Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I'm working on this. Anyway, homeless people are worthy of our care and compassion. Everybody knows that. They're human beings and they deserve to be treated as such. However, when you've got people, there was one person in the article who was mentioned who has literally been on the streets for 30 years. Okay, 30 years. So this is a guy who's, it's not that, okay. Marcellus Brower, 59 years old and homeless, was labeled a prolific trespasser and habitual sleeper in court documents. Court records show he's got 54 cases dating back to 2003. This isn't the only person. Okay. That's not 30 years. Okay. Most of them are trespassing, but he also has domestic violence, vagrancy, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And there are other people who are mentioned who literally have been homeless for 30 years. Okay. Now, here's the reason I mention this is because, um, yeah, here we go. Here's Jimmy Barr, 67 years old, homeless, has had at least 7 cases involving violations of an order out order. In other words, for a while, they were just ordering people out of the resort corridor. And if you violated that, they take you to jail. Okay, you know what that means. But here's the important thing. Records show that he's faced more than 300 criminal cases in the Las Vegas Justice Court in the past 3 decades. Okay. He's been charged with trespassing, public nuisance, sleeping in public, obstructing a sidewalk, petty larceny. Also has faced battery or assault charges 14 times. Okay. Now, the ACLU is upset about the idea of having a court dedicated to prosecuting these homeless cases. The people who run the casino industry in Nevada want these homeless people off the strip. I want the homeless people off the strip. We all want the homeless people off the strip. We want them out of our parks. We want them out of, anywhere that we're going to wander and they're trying to sleep or something, right? They don't have more rights than we do. They don't get to sleep wherever they want to. They don't get to poop wherever they want to. They don't get to do these things. And now, of course, they're taking court time and everything else. We get that. But one of the things that was interesting about this story in the RJ, I'll link to this, by the way. I'll put a link after this video. The ACLU of Nevada has repeatedly argued that the order out orders, in other words, being ordered out of the resort corridor, violates defendants' First Amendment right to assemble on public land, and it infringes on people's 14th Amendment right to travel. Where was the ACLU when people were told they couldn't travel without a shot? Did I miss that when they were advocating for us? What a joke. Anyway, and this is what really bothered me the most about this story, okay? Justice of the Peace, Melissa de la Garza. She's the chief judge of the justice of the peace. She's the justice of the peace, Melissa de Garza, and she's called the court's chief judge by the RJ, okay? She said judges, because the judges are the ones who got together and eliminated this court a few years back. They voted to end the court program, okay? But here's what she says. She questioned the availability of social services for defendants. And this is the problem with people on the bench who are liberal. She said, I just see there was a lack of resources then, and there's a lack of resources now. Now, I'm not going to say that mental health resources are as available as they should be for anybody, but what I will say is that there are people who do not want to avail themselves of mental health services, or they don't want to get clean or anything else. And I don't have an answer to what to do with these people. I don't. I mean, they clog up the court system, you put them in jail, that's expensive. I don't have a solution other than to keep them moving. We can't have them taking over everybody's park and everything else. We just can't. And I'll tell you one thing I've noticed too, driving around Vegas, is a lot of people have put a lot of businesses put rocks on the side of their businesses instead of grass because of the homeless. I know for a fact because I watched them do this when I worked on the strip. I watched them do this in New York, New York. And New York, New York, they used to have a nice little grassy area that was kind of on the Flamingo side of New York, Tropicana side, sorry, Tropicana side of New York, New York. And homeless people would sleep there every single day. And every single day, they would run the homeless people out. I watched this because remember, I work morning, so I'd see all this. They'd run them out every day. They finally just pulled up all the grass and put rocks down. And there are a lot of businesses I see doing that. Now, rocks are not cheap. I know we talk about grass and water and this and that and the other. Okay, rocks aren't cheap. Have you done any landscaping lately? They're not cheap to do. Plus, they make it hotter. If you put rocks next to your house, it makes your house hotter in the summer. So, anyway, how much are these people costing us? We really don't know. In government services, in court time, in businesses having to either make modifications or move completely because of what's happening with the homeless people. And once again, nobody hates homeless people, not judging them, but I am tired of this idea that they're not doing right because they don't have services. They have services. We spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year in Vegas on homeless services. They can get clean if they want to. They can go to a shelter if they want to. They don't want to. They don't want to because they prefer living on the street with their friends and their drugs. That's a fact. And if you talk to anybody who's ever worked with homeless people on an ongoing basis, that's exactly what they'll tell you. And a lot of people get involved with the homeless people, trying to help. You know, they have a big heart and all that. I get all of that. Okay, but ultimately, they understand these people choose to be there, and they want to be where their friends are who are doing drugs and all that kind of stuff. Hey, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to live your life like that, king of the road. Whatever. Okay, fine. But in order to fund that, you have to either bum money from people, and if y'all would stop giving them money, you'd solve half the problem. They need to have funding for that. Some of them, I'm sure, get food stamps until tomorrow, that is. But the bottom line is we're accommodating them. They wouldn't be in Summerlin if it weren't for the fact that years ago, Metro used to give them free bus passes. And they go up to Summerlin and everything else. Well, they would have left Summerlin if you white, rich liberals, and most, not everybody's white up there, obviously, but probably the white people, the dumb ones handing the money out the car window, walking your golden retrievers and giving people money because you feel guilty about somebody's plight. That's why they're there in Summerlin. If you don't want them there, stop giving them money. Stop giving them anything. There are food banks all over this town, which we will see in force tomorrow, probably. I'm going to talk about this more a little bit later today on 989 WORD. You can check it out for yourself. Listen live from anywhere, 989 WORD. I don't want to wear myself out because I got 4 hours to do today. But the thing is, you don't. There are all kinds of services available. If these people want to avail themselves of it, they don't want to change their lives. So, do I have a perfect solution? No, I don't. Because if you've ever dealt with anybody in your own life, and we all have, who will not change for whatever reason. The only reason they're not homeless is because they have someone willing to put up with them, willing to keep them in their home, whatever. But they have the same attitude. They want to do what they want to do. They want to drink. They want to smoke. They want to hang around the house. They want to play video games. They want to do something and not contribute to society. And the difference between them and people on the street is that they have some enabling family member who's letting them do that. And the people on the street, most of the time, had some kind of family at some point in their life, and they have turned their back on the family, or the families turned their back on them because they're tired of them using them and taking advantage and just basically not wanting to get their lives straight. So nobody's picking on people being homeless. It doesn't make you a bad person. But we have to stop being so stupid about the money that we spend on these folks and just keep them moving along. I mean, they got to have a whole homeless patrol. You know how they have the freeway service patrol? I know they have a homeless group that goes out and talks to people. not a homeless group, a homeless advocacy group goes out and talks to people. But we've got to do something. But what we're doing isn't working. Pretending this for this judge to say, well, I want these people to have deputy public defender Olivia Miller. Okay. She was one of the attorneys assigned to the Resort Corridor Court. She said, we never got a lot of these folks the help they need to address these systemic kind of issues they were facing. Okay. Systemic? No, it's an attitude. It's an attitude, my friend. She calls it being unhoused, being mentally ill, being addicted to drugs, or some combination of all of the above. You can quit taking drugs anytime you want to. Millions of people have done it. That's a choice. And being mentally ill is very tough. And a lot of people do self medicate. I understand that. But that's not the vast majority of people who are homeless. Some are. And some have been through terrible trauma in their lives, which breaks my heart. And when I see these people on the street, I don't look down on them. I don't look at them with disdain. I think, man, if I'd had you from the time you were born, you probably wouldn't be in that situation. A lot of people have been traumatized. Then they take drugs to try to get over the trauma because they never really get what they need. And the next thing you know, it becomes a lifestyle. And what we need to do is try to get a hold of these kids. And I know there are organizations out there doing it, trying to get a hold of these kids who age out of foster care and things like that to prevent this from ever happening to them. So they're not in a situation where they get into the homeless situation. And the next thing you know, it becomes a lifestyle. But I'm just tired of the idea that there aren't enough services. There are tons of services available for people who want to avail themselves of. There are. But people who don't want to change their life, if you want to change your life, you legitimately want to change your life, you can. Another thing that I want to address real quickly, and I'm going to get off to prepping for my show today. Another thing that's really important is the idea that we don't have the community we used to have. I don't know about you, but I have noticed a lot of community seems to be missing nowadays. People are disconnected from their family. They're on no contact with their family, sometimes legitimately. And a lot of times it's not. And then they wind up having tough times and there's nobody there for them. The safety net should be your family. The safety net should not be government. It should be your family first, church second. There are lots of food banks that feed homeless people, no questions asked. There's no excuse for anybody to be going hungry. And these food banks will probably step up tomorrow. I'll talk about the thing with what's expected with the stores all over the country. I'll talk about that tomorrow. I mean, later on today on the radio show. But there are food banks available for anybody who wants to avail themselves of that kind of thing. We do a tremendous amount for these people, but if you don't want help, and we've all known people like that, I've known people, I've had people in my family like that. Haven't you? Or had a friend or somebody. I'm not judging. I'm not saying anybody's not worthy of God or anything. I'm not saying any of that. But we have to be honest about who they are and the situation that has led them to this. And there are people who walk away from their families, or they walked away from their marriage or something, and then they wind up alone, all by themselves out on the street with nobody. And I see this happening so much nowadays as I get to middle age. Well, I guess I'm already in middle age. I see it a lot. I see it with people I know, situations that I know. It's tough, guys. It's really tough. So we need to be able to we need to be forming better communities. And I don't mean the communities in the tunnel. I'm talking about real community with people who actually are working and functioning and doing the right things for society, and people who go to church or wherever you worship, these kinds of communities. We don't have any. I don't care if you're playing bridge or playing pickleball or whatever. We need to have more community. And we seem to be so disconnected nowadays. I mean, I know if my husband and I got our house burned down tomorrow, we'd have places to stay. We'd have multiple places to stay. Even if we didn't have insurance, we'd have places to stay because we have great friends and great family who would take us in if we needed it. And not because we're such great people, but because we're connected to people. We work with we have community. We have amazing church friends. My personal family is great. These are the options that people used to have in society. And now it's government first. Give me my SNAP card. I want to live give me my SNAP card, give me my drugs. I don't care about anything else. I don't want community. So there are a lot of issues surrounding the homeless situation on the Strip. And of course, now gaming, as you guys saw the other day, even Hornbuckle from MGM Resorts, the CEO, was talking about how much they're charging people. We've overcharged people. I'll get to some of that today on the radio show. But we've overcharged people. All this. Okay, they're finally acknowledging it. But that's that's a problem too. The amount of money that they want to charge people, and then they turn around, they have no room, they have nobody in the beds. They're dropping, occupancy rates are crazy, and then they want to spend $100 million on a homeless shelter, which is not going to solve the problem. This homeless shelter they're talking about building, it's not going to solve the problem because they claim they're going to drug test everybody. Well, there went 99% of the people, and don't just take it from me. There went 99% of the people. They're not going to get in the door. So who's going to be in this $100 million debacle they're building? It's not going to solve the problem. So I wish I had some more solutions, but one solution is not to continue to pretend like these people don't have services. For a judge to say, "Oh, they're not getting the services," yes, they are. They don't want them. And if somebody doesn't go to rehab or complete rehab, don't blame that on a lack of services. It's a lack of interest on their part, right? Okay. Much more to come today on 989 WORD, 989 WORD. I don't know how to put a picture up here yet. I'm still learning this new system. So, anyway, you can find it 989 WORD. You can listen to me live beginning at noon Pacific. Okay. Got to run, guys. Follow me on all the socials, Heidi Harris Show, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever, Instagram, all that good stuff. And I will be talking for 4 hours today. So I'll cover all kinds of topics. I hope you join me. Okay, guys. See ya.